Okay, guys, welcome back to Sanity Maintenance. Figured we'd try to go over buying a used boat in today's world. It's a lot different than it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago or just a few years ago sometimes for some things. Uh, I guess one of the main things you need to really focus in on is what kind of engine do you have on the back of the boat that you're wanting to buy. Uh, Mainly being, is it a two-stroke or is it a four-stroke? If you're buying one, I'm pretty sure you're going to want to upgrade it later on in life, which most people do. You know, it has a two-stroke. Well, I want to put a four-stroke on it. The main thing you need to be concerned with is the transom on the back of the boat. How tough is it? How stiff is it? You know, is it going to hold up? You know, for a four-stroke? What kind of weight are you adding onto it? Some boats have a bracket on the back of them, like the one we have on our large boat. That's one of the reasons we purchased that boat because it had a bracket. I can very easily go from a 225 two-stroke to a 225 four-stroke with no issues at all. And the flotation that the bracket allows me to take it up with no problem at all, with very little, you know, issues, very little at all. Getting into your transom, you need to be checking if you can possibly stand on the back of the motor or something. See how much flex you have in that transom. That is one of the main things on that. Uh, Moving on down the line, looking at different parts of the boat, your fuel tank is going to be your next number one issue. All right, boat's 10 years old, 20 years old, or whatever. You need to be able to get into that tank or be able to access that tank in some kind of way. You need to find out where that tank is located. Some certain consoles have them where they're basically made into the bottom under the console. They're really tough to get to. You have to do a lot of cutting if need be to get to it, which some tanks do need to be replaced every once in a while. Uh, the metal ones, the aluminum ones, will kind of have a little rotting issue here and there and decaying area. And next thing you know, they got a leak. Your plastic ones, believe it or not, are having some very big issues these days. Uh, Ethanol being one of the problems. Somebody said, and quite a few people said, that ethanol is eating their tank up. I do know that there's a huge problem with the tanks being loose inside the hull. Straps that hold the tank down, you know, keeping it down where it's supposed to be. You're hitting a lot of waves and things like that. That tank's going to jump around, jar around, and it's going to crack. It's plastic. Okay, I had to back myself up a little bit there. Get back onto your engine. Your engine hours are going to be really important if you're buying a four-stroke. Excuse me. Most of your two-strokes won't even have a record of it. They either run or they don't run. If you're buying a two-stroke, you need to check your cylinder pressure, stuff like that. You know your pressure. Do that. Take a good look around the inside of it. Make sure it hadn't been underwater or anything got a lot of corrosion on them. You know, two-strokes, they gonna have corrosion here and there and everywhere, no matter what, because they're two-strokes and they've been around a while. But your four-strokes, your hours on it are pretty important. Most of my friends, they won't buy anything under, or excuse me, over 500 hours, which is really tough to do because most engines run that generally have 1,000 hours, 2,000 hours on them. A lot of people do a lot of trolling with them, and that really racks the hours up on them too. And that's something that your NADA is not going to say, hey, you know, we're going to change the price on this because it has more hours on it. That's not actually added into what the motor is actually worth. So if you were to find, say, you found a 225 horsepower Honda and you were interested in buying it, and say you found one that was had 2 hours on it, and that was it, and you found one identical to it that was say 10,000 hours on it. Well, actually, they're worth the same thing, but they're not. You know, as far as we're concerned. But as far as NADA is concerned, that's what they say. You know, they don't really look at the hours involved on engines. That's something you need to take into account for on your own while you're looking. All right, getting back to the fuel tank. Fuel tank, okay, let's say it had a two-stroke on the back. A lot of people today will take and also mix their oil and their fuel together inside their tank. All right, this is something you're planning on maybe upgrading later to a four-stroke if you were to purchase this boat. So if they have the oil and the gas mixed together inside the tank, it's something else that you're going to have to clean out or either deal with later when you decide to put a four-stroke on it. This is another one of these things you need to look at. The fuel tank, the engine, and the transom are the three major things to look at when you're purchasing a boat, other than the hull and all the rest of the crap that goes with it, these three things need to be dealt with straight up forward when you're purchasing a boat of used of any kind. I can't stress this enough, because today everything has really changed a lot, and just a lot of stuff just going bad left and right. And if you start looking, you'll see a lot of big, larger boats. They're running little small tanks, things like that. And that's the reason for it, because they can't cut the tanks out and they can't get to them. So that's very important. Your engine, make sure you got your compression check going on there. You be there with it. Don't go by what they're using. If you're doing a compression check, get you a fairly decent meter. It pretty well reads decent, Just make sure everything's well within 10%. That's great, go from there. All right, sunken boats. Starting to see a lot of this in my area now, where they're starting to pop up, checking boats to see if they've been sunk. And somehow they're moving their wet from Florida to here. Well, money's money, you got to make a sale somewhere online. And I've looked at a few of them. Some of them were pretty nice, but they were sunk. But other than that, I know a few people that own them. So if you're worried about that issue, take a look inside around your battery terminals, cables, things like that, and see just how much corrosion you really got in it, in them areas. That's areas that most people are not going to try to, correct. They're more worried about the boat and what it looks like on the outside and the inside area of the hull. But if you start looking at areas where your electrical terminals are hooked up and how much decay you got in them and things like that, you can really kind of track that down and find out where that boat came from. All right. Trim tabs, and the boat has trim tabs on it. Most bigger boats will have trim tabs on them because that's just the way they come. Now, but if you're looking at a smaller boat, it may have trim tabs on it, or maybe if, say, it has a fin on the back, like a little fin. Our small boat has trim tabs on it and also a fin. There's a reason for it, due to the fact that it's underpowered. That's why. But it also saves me a lot of money on fuel. So if you see one with trim tabs on it and a fin on it, that should let you know, one thing for sure: this boat has underpowered for the motor that's sitting on the back of it. Our small boat is 16 foot and it's got a 50 horsepower Yamaha on it. Moves at about maybe 30 if you're lucky, but it was tough on it to get it up out of the water, get it on plane. So it has these features on there. So that's what we put them on there for, to get it up and get moving. She'll pull 2 people, 3 people, okay, 4 people, forget it. It's not going anywhere. All right. The hull of the boat is the next thing you need to be looking out for. Is it a plastic hull? Or some people say PVC. I see a few of these right here for sale. We've been looking ourselves, for different boats. If we sold our big one, now it's looking like I might be keeping it due to these reasons. PVC sometimes cracks, and it's kind of hard to get anybody to fix it. A lot of people say, well, you can fix it, you can do this, that, and the other. Well, you do your own homework or whatever. Why they got some of them for sale, as far as I'm concerned, for cracks in them, for very decent prices. I mean, they're down so far, you're basically just buying the engine off the boat, and the boat came with it free, and the trailer too. And say if you got fiberglass boat, check the bottom of it, see how bad shape it's in. Aluminum boats, they're pretty well okay. You can get somebody to weld them back up. Steel boat, I don't know a whole lot about. If you're a welder, I imagine you probably do a pretty good job. The one thing I don't like when I'm buying a used boat or looking at a used boat is having bottom paint on the bottom of it. That's my flag. That's my red flag right there. If it's got bottom paint on the bottom of it, why is it painted? Well, if it's in the water, that's fine. So what does the bottom actually look like under the paint? Is what I want to know. If I'm going to buy a boat, I'm going to try my best to take a fine one that's got a pristine hull. I don't care if it's scratched up, beat up, whatever color. If I can see the hull and see it, make sure it's not cracked, we got something going on there. But if she's bottom paint, that don't work very well for me. Went over pretty much everything. I just kind of had a little list here. But these are basically most of your things that you need to be looking for on buying a boat for today. It's not going to be a really long video, it's just more of a discussion video for you to have a beer and go over some of this. But basically, if you're looking to get a used boat and something that you can work on possibly and not tie a whole lot of money up, look guys, try to find you a boat that has a bracket on the back for a single engine or a twin engine. That's a plus, okay? It's the main things we're looking for. Something like that where you can take a 2-stroke off and you can put a 4-stroke on and everything's solid. You ain't got to worry about a weight issue. I mean, you're talking some serious weight differences between a two-stroke and a four-stroke. Your next thing's gonna be your gas tank, guys. I can't stress this enough. You need to know what kind of situation this tank's been in, how long it's been thrown around in this boat, and they do come loose, and they will come loose. You'd be surprised what you hear when you're riding with somebody in the ocean. Just take a look at these things. These are the main things, and then go from there on. So hopefully this video was kind of helpful with you, and if it was, hey, give it a thumbs up. Y'all have yourself a good night.